Welcome back to the channel and thank you for tuning in. This is Trending Now USA and I'm Bella. Today's report covers a story that has resurfaced in the tennis world and sparked new debate among fans, analysts, and former players. We are taking a deeper look into the big prediction Chris Eubanks made about Coco Gauff last year, a prediction that millions believed, repeated, and even celebrated, but one that ultimately did not come true. The tennis world remembers that moment clearly because it came at a time when Coco Gauff was rising fast, collecting momentum, and gaining global attention. She had just achieved major breakthroughs. Headlines were calling her the future face of American tennis, and many believed she was destined to dominate. So when Chris Eubanks, one of her closest friends and someone who trained and traveled with her, made a bold prediction about what Coco Gauff would accomplish, the tennis community listened. At first, that prediction seemed realistic. For a while, it looked like Coco was marching directly toward fulfilling it. She had the talent, the growth, and the winning streak. But today, as we revisit the timeline, what sounded undeniable at the time now reminds everyone that in sports, nothing is guaranteed, and even the most promising trajectories can shift, stall, or take unexpected turns. The story goes back to early last year, when Chris Eubanks publicly expressed his belief that Coco Gauff would finish the season as the world #1 in women's tennis. At that point, he wasn't exaggerating or making an unrealistic statement. Coco had momentum. She was building consistency. She had already shown improvements in her serve, her forehand, and her overall strategic game. She was defeating top-ranked opponents and pulling off clutch wins in major tournaments. Everything pointed to a year of dominance. From the outside, fans believed Chris Eubanks was simply verbalizing what many were already thinking. Coco wasn't just talented. She was evolving, maturing, and proving she could win under pressure. But as the season unfolded, the journey toward world #1 did not unfold the way supporters expected. Coco Gauff did accomplish remarkable things. She improved her ranking, won matches on major stages, and solidified her place as one of the most exciting American athletes of her generation. She became a fan favorite, particularly among younger audiences, and her confidence continued to grow. But as the months passed, the race for the #1 spot became more complicated. She faced tougher competition, rising challengers, inconsistencies in her game, and the undeniable reality of professional tennis. Every season is a battlefield. Athletes are dealing with physical demands, pressure, mental fatigue, and opponents who adapt quickly. Even the greatest talents face setbacks. By the end of the season, Chris Eubanks' prediction of Coco becoming the world #1 didn't materialize, and for many in the tennis world, this became a talking point. Some called it overconfidence, others labeled it optimism, and a smaller group suggested that predictions like this add unnecessary pressure. But there was another interpretation. Perhaps Eubanks saw something in Coco that statistics alone couldn't measure: raw potential. For Coco Gauff, the conversation around expectations has always been part of her career. Since her breakthrough at Wimbledon as a teenager, she has been placed under a spotlight that rarely dims. The comparisons to legendary champions came early, sometimes too early. Serena Williams' name was mentioned repeatedly in headlines. Analysts described Coco not only as a player with promise, but as an athlete seemingly destined for greatness. With that level of attention comes pressure. Pressure to perform, pressure to win, pressure to live up to a narrative written before the story is complete. When Chris Eubanks made his prediction, many saw it as encouragement. Coco herself reacted calmly. She did not publicly pressure herself to meet the claim. She acknowledged the comment with grace, maturity, and humility. She has often spoken about focusing on long-term growth rather than rushing toward rankings or trophies. As the season progressed, Coco continued demonstrating moments of brilliance. Her ability to extend rallies, her movement across the court, her improved shot selections, everything reflected growth. But tennis is about consistency, not isolated moments. When she met top seeds in later rounds of major tournaments, some of her weaknesses resurfaced. Analysts pointed out recurring issues with her forehand under pressure and streaks of unforced errors that cost her matches she had the potential to win. Fans watching her matches saw glimpses of dominance, but also stretches where she struggled with rhythm and decision-making. By mid-season, the prediction of reaching number one became more difficult to envision. The WTA rankings are not just about winning occasional matches or advancing through a few tournaments. They require sustained excellence over months and across surfaces: hard court, clay, and grass. During this time, other players in the top rankings were also performing strongly. Some were gaining points rapidly, making the competition even tougher. Coco continued to fight, continued to improve, and continued to show determination. She ended the season with a resume that many young athletes would envy. But she did not reach the number one ranking. And so the prediction, bold, exciting, and widely discussed, remains a part of her story, not as a failure but as a mark of how high expectations have always been placed upon her. Now, as we look at where things stand today, the question isn't whether Chris Eubanks was wrong, but rather whether his prediction was early. Because for many experts, Coco Gauff is still on track to become one of the top players in the world, possibly even number one, just not on the timeline originally imagined. When predictions don't come true, it often sparks debate about pressure, performance, and the responsibility of public comments. Some believe Eubanks' statement added intensity to Coco's already demanding environment. Others believe it was harmless, supportive, and simply reflective of belief in her talent. Coco herself has handled expectations with composure. She speaks about progress, learning, adapting, and evolving. She has demonstrated mental resilience, an essential component of long-term success in tennis. Behind the scenes, Coco's training environment has also evolved. Coaches, fitness staff, and mental conditioning experts have worked with her to refine her game. She has examined the areas that need improvement. Her serve speed and accuracy have been points of emphasis. Her forehand technique continues to undergo refinement. Her confidence in aggressive play rather than defensive rallies has grown. While the number one ranking did not materialize last season, the trajectory still shows upward potential. Another part of this conversation is how young Coco Gauff still is. Many players don't reach their peak until much later in their careers. The world of tennis has seen countless examples: players who develop slowly, encounter setbacks early, and then explode into dominance once their confidence aligns with physical ability and strategic maturity. Coco's journey may simply be following that pattern. Predictions, especially in sports, are guesses mixed with hope, analysis, and instinct. They attract attention, but they don't determine fate. Today, the discussion around Chris Eubanks' prediction is less about accuracy and more about what it represents: belief, momentum, and a vision of Coco Gauff as a future champion. Even though the prediction did not come true within the expected time frame, nothing about Coco's current position suggests that her story is complete. Instead, it appears she is still building, still learning, and still preparing for the moment when everything aligns. Sports history is full of examples where expectations didn't match timing, but eventually, success arrived. And for Coco Gauff, the future remains open and filled with possibility. The prediction may not have come true last year, but it still symbolizes something important. Her potential remains enormous, and those close to her see greatness on the horizon. For now, Coco continues to work, to train, and to compete. The world continues to watch. And Chris Eubanks' bold prediction remains part of a longer story, one that is still unfolding. Thank you for watching. This is Bella reporting for Trending Now USA. Stay tuned for more breaking coverage, athlete updates, and sports stories making waves around the world.